Welcome back to the Windy City Podcast. I'm your host, Carter, and this episode will be the last one for a while. Let's get into it. First, I want to thank everyone for the support they've given me. I appreciate the time that you guys have taken out to listen to these episodes. Content creation has always been something that I've wanted to do, and senior project this year allowed me to pursue this at school nonetheless. For those who don't know, at the school I go to, every senior is required to have a senior project, and I decided that I wanted to do an NBA podcast, but I'll get more into that in a little bit. Anyways, ever since I was in 7th grade, and I moved to South Carolina in 7th grade, so the friends here introduced me to YouTube and whatnot, so I started watching YouTube kind of casually in 7th grade, and then 8th grade I began watching YouTube, like normal TV, and that's pretty much when I became obsessed with the whole idea behind content creation. I used to stream video games I played, and people would come watch every once in a while. I would gain some viewers. But the whole purpose of content creation is or in terms of what I'm doing on YouTube and whatnot, is to make videos for people to watch. And most of the time it can be catered to like a specific community. Like this one's catered to Bulls fans, but really it's just anyone who wants to listen. That's the target audience, is Bulls fans at least. And that's pretty much what I did on YouTube. I used, like, the games I streamed were normally catered towards the community for people that played the game and enjoyed the game that I was playing. And every once in a while I would get viewers who would ask me questions about the game I was playing. And you'll never find those videos because they physically make me cringe and they've been eviscerated off the internet. If you find something, let me know, because that does not need to be there. Just as simple as not need to be there. But getting into about COVID, I dug out an old computer I found, and I edited some of the recordings of the games I recently played, and I put hours upon hours into every video that I put out. As anything, I got older, came up upon new responsibilities, and schoolwork got harder, and I played sports as well, so I didn't have time like I do now, because I have a class. It's my first period of the day where I go in and I can work on my podcast stuff if I need to. But I didn't have a class like that allotted to put hours into editing anymore. So I pretty much just dropped the whole thing of YouTube until summer, or if there was a break I had in school and I was like, you know what, I think I could record and knock out a video. And that's what I did. So Senior Project essentially allowed me to not only make content, but learn more about content creation itself, which I'm pretty thrilled about. And I have learned a lot over the course of these last 8 months, I think. 8 months. Next, I want to thank all the people that have come on my podcast as a guest. I want to thank my coach, Gordon Stallard, for coming on my 2nd episode, my friend Bryson Miller for coming on my 5th, my friend Will Miller for coming on my 7th and 10th episode, my friend Danny for joining me on my 12th episode, and my friend Ridge for coming on my 13th episode. Another one of my favorite things about content creation is that I can do it with anyone. Anyone can do it with anyone. From video games to podcasts to even, if you take out a camera and record you actually playing basketball at a park or something, you can put all of that on YouTube. So I guess just making content is so much more fun when I have a guest doing it with me. So in my case, a guest on a podcast, because from the podcast side of things, it makes just everything more natural instead of me just talking, to a camera, right? Like the camera can't respond to me, and I can think to an extent. It just depends on the vagueness of my script about how natural I'm going to be talking. But at the same time, there's no unexpected questions being thrown at me. Like in episode 13 with Ridge, he asked me a question about tryouts, and that was not something I had written down in the script. But I always make sure every guest, if they want to talk about something, we can talk about it. So he asked me that question, and I gave him a natural response to it that hadn't been pre-written before the episode. So, and this is what I did with the script for this episode even. I just left it pretty vague so that I can talk mostly from my brain and whatnot. So having a guest on just makes the conversation is more natural. It's more entertaining to listen to, and it is more fun when you have someone on there that you can, have a laugh with, and, you want to actually converse with this person, it just makes the experience more enjoyable. But, sure, like I said earlier, I have a script that I put time and effort in the writing, and I do that in great detail, but I can afford to drop the details and use the outline from the script when I have someone to naturally converse with, because it would be boring if we just both took turns reading from a script. That's why I have guests on. And yes, they have the script in advance, but that's just, help them. This is what we're talking about. If you want to have your own notes, like I remember my coach printed out his own notes to have, then you can have your own notes to come talk. But the point being is that it is a natural conversation at the end of the day. And that really, brings me joy to have people that want to, it's not nonetheless, they want to come on. Everyone that I've asked to come on has wanted to come on. So it really just makes me happy when I can have people that I'm glad to associate with that come on and talk basketball. The last couple episodes, we start with covering, a Bulls game and whatnot, and then it branches out and then broader basketball. And that's not in the script. That's natural conversation. Next, I want to thank my mentor, Nathaniel DeSantis from the Greenville Podcast Company. He supplied me with this mic, this headset. I don't know if I can show you if you can unplug it. This is the pod track I use to plug in my headset and plugs in my computer and whatnot. And that's pretty much how I've operated everything. My first episode was only audio, and I used that to record before I realized that I could plug it in my computer because, again, I just wasn't educated. And he also supplied me with another mic that's out of reach right now. And anytime I had a question, or he gave me, we had mentor meetings we met with for school, and there are several times outside of mentor meetings to where I had a question, and he was able to give me, the time of his day and advice when I needed it. And like I said earlier, anytime I had a question, he answered it, and if that solution didn't work, we would find another. Essentially, without him, the Windy City podcast wouldn't exist because I wouldn't know what to do, or I would not have the equipment to do so. So I just thank you again, Mr. DeSantis. I'm very glad I have the opportunity to do what I do. Before I wrap it up, I want to go over my podcasting journey. Like I mentioned earlier, it all started in the summer when I chose to do an NBA podcast for my senior project. From there, I just started with creating a logo. I think I made an intro. I'm not sure. But I at least had the logo down. I had the logo and the name. And then I had my first mentor meeting. It was not so much... I think it kind of was a mentor meeting, but it was kind of much seeing, him seeing how serious I was. And I had all my stuff planned out. I had what I wanted to do. And from there, he approved, told me the general outline of what I needed to do. And from there, I got into writing a script. I spent 6 hours on my first script, and I was pretty disappointed when I recorded and I only had 25 minutes of content. I was confused about how much time and effort I put in, and it didn't give me the result I wanted. And from there, in my second episode, I had my first experience with a guest. And this is where I really learned the value of having someone else come on your podcast. I spent about 45 minutes writing the script for that episode, and I got about 45 minutes of content. But a lot of that was me just removing stuff that I didn't even need to have. I was just kind of being dumb. But also, I was inexperienced, so writing scripts have gotten easier now because I know what to research to find out. I have my databases that I like, and I don't have to go out and dig for all this other stuff. It's all there. And I know how I want to format my episodes as well now. So that just cuts down on time even more when I write a script. But anyways, I had a good time with my coach, and I realized that the best way to get good content was through natural conversation. If I write a script and it gives me 25 minutes of talking time and I have a guest on, it's pretty safe to assume that the guest is going to also have 25 minutes of talking time. So it increases the time of the episodes. It's more fun. Like that episode I recorded with my coach and everyone I've had on, it's a smooth hour. And to me, it feels like 15 minutes. So after that, the big realization I had, I tried to secure a couple guests, and unfortunately, it didn't happen. So I ended up taking a 2-month break. I got unmotivated. I got lazy. And when I looked to see, how far am I throughout the year, I realized that this was not the plan. This is not what I wanted to do. So I decided that I don't want to redo a whole project. I'm going to rebrand. Gathering content for the whole NBA, the way I do things is very ambitious. When I thought about making an NBA podcast, my general idea of an episode was 45 minutes. The issue with covering the entire NBA is, yes, there's plenty of content out there. It takes a lot of time to get. I am a senior in high school. I have classes. During that was in season. I had a life outside of school, and I do now still. So covering the whole NBA was not going to work. I don't have a whole team of researchers to compile all the information I need, and then I can put it in a script and then record. That's not what I have access to. So I decided to rebrand to a Chicago Bulls podcast so I could stay very specific to a team I really love, and I don't have to do the same amount of research as a professional analyst without the team. So from here, I regained my motivation. I started making more episodes, if you guys have seen. I had guests come on to talk about games between their favorite team and mine. And that's pretty much where I am now. I had Will come on. We talked about March Madness because he's very educated on college basketball. And I know that going in from the start, I wanted to make March Madness episodes. So it wasn't even a doubt in my mind who I was going to ask. And the recent discovery I had was how to convert my MP4 files to MP3. I used to use a bootleg website that would take about 2 hours to just upload an episode. And I talked to my mentor the other day. He told me to use iMovie, so that's why I used to convert all my episodes to MP3s in a matter of 30 minutes. I'm sure it'd be faster, but internet's not the best. But it saves me a lot of time, and I know that the quality is good because it walks me through what it's uploading and whatnot. If I go in the folder, I can see the amount of storage it takes up increase as iMovie uploads more. And then from there, I can go back to use Anchor, and I can throw in the audio file, the MP3 files, and it pushes out like that. That's why a couple of days ago, there was a big just spurge of episodes out of nowhere. Those episodes have already been made for a while now. It was just I had no way to get them over to MP3, so that's why I stuck mainly with YouTube. Again, thank you everyone for your support. Content creation is something I wish I could do for a living, but it's not very ideal given it takes most people several years to get to a point to where they have a sustainable income to live without working a job. So I'm not doing that as my main source of revenue. I just do it as a hobby. And I'm not sure when I will make the next episode because this is the last episode of Senior Project at least. So anything beyond that is on me. And again, all this equipment is borrowed, but I'm sure I can make it work with AirPods and whatnot. But I know I will eventually come back to making a podcast again because I think podcasts are the best way to make long distance content. I can talk with anyone from anywhere. So wherever after high school may take me, I can still talk to friends I have. Whether I'm in Florida and they're here, I can talk to people from various points in the country and still make content with them. I'm your host, Carter, and thank you for listening to the Windy City Podcast. Peace.